Step into love like you've never been hurt before. Step into trust like you've never been burned
Welcome to
before.
Braveheart Conversations.
Would you just open your heart and open your soul? I'll be waiting when you let go. Step into love like you've never been hurt before.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Braveheart Conversations. I'm Jillian Landis, and I'm here today with Marie Wallace.
Good morning.
And we are here to celebrate with you the new year. It is now 2020.
Woo woo!
I'm super excited
Me
for this
too.
year. Yeah. And so kind of in the spirit of inviting in this new year, we want to talk about letting go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let
so
it go.
we are all super familiar with setting resolutions and setting goals and dream boards. And I love all of that stuff. I like to do that routinely throughout the year. But I really wanted to talk about what we need to do to clear our space to invite those new things in. So very often our life is really full. And so we're kind of setting ourselves up for a disadvantage if we want to really accomplish those goals or invite in new people, new opportunities, new jobs, new money, new whatever it is that we're dreaming of. We really need to have the space to have it.
Well, if you want a new couch, you got to get rid of the old one.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you got to make some space.
Yep, this
Some
is
room.
in like every aspect of our lives, and what often happens is we're afraid to let go. You know, we may dream of this relationship that's peaceful and supportive, but we're afraid to let go of the one we have.
This is
We
true.
may dream of having a job that lights us up, but we're afraid of letting go of the job we hate because it's safe. So
And the unknown is really scary. Better to live miserably than face what's scary and unknown.
absolutely. It's super hard to let things go, but I feel like it has been one of the most powerful things in my life, choosing to let go, even when you have no idea. You know, it's the hardest thing in the world when you let go of a job and you go, I don't know what's coming next. Or, you know, you let go of a relationship that, you know, you obviously are keeping around for some reasons, even though it's not really filling you up and it's not honoring you. It's letting go, not knowing what is next. And so it was interesting as I kind of started these conversations about letting go in the new year. A lot of what came up was emotions. I'm letting go of fear. I'm letting go of self-doubt. I'm letting go of, I don't know, criticism or judgment, shame. These were the things that came up. And as I kind of pondered that, I was like, well, this wasn't exactly what I was thinking. And here's what kind of came up for me was that these emotions they're not really things to fight against. They're something to invite in and to integrate and to work with. And so when I think of like fear, for example, I didn't become less fearful and then make a change.
Yeah, you can't do that.
I actually became more fearful and made the change anyway. So it's not really getting rid of the emotion. Even like, you know, I think of any of my, you know, lack of self-confidence or self-doubt like that. I still struggle with that. On a daily basis, I struggle with that. It's not getting rid of it. It's learning how to say, yep, I hear you.
And it's an indicator to take a look. Like, what is this about? Get curious about why is this coming up and taking a look at it. And those emotions are there as guides and indicators to investigate further.
Absolutely. And this to me is a perfect scenario of where yes and works really well.
Yes.
When I feel these emotions, it can be any emotion, but it can be, you know, fear is a big one. Yes, I feel terrified and I'm going to do it anyway. Or yes, I feel grief and I'm still going to move forward in this way. Yes, I feel resentment or I feel anger and I'm going to do X, Y, Z. So I think emotions are beautiful format to utilize that yes and concept.
Mm-hmm. And they're uncomfortable, and you're never really going to get rid of them. It's just going to show up differently.
Yeah.
And learning to accept it and acknowledge it allows it to pass through us and be an education. It educates us into, well, if we're scared of it, we probably should do it. Most often. I mean, not always.
That scares you every day, that whole concept.
That's Eleanor Roosevelt. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And you have a beautiful poem about integrating emotions and how, I feel like emotions are something that is, when we make them bad and wrong, we ostracize ourselves. Like, we are actually isolating a piece of ourselves and saying, oh no, you can't feel this, you can't have this. Like, it's a judgment towards ourselves instead of being open to that and integrating and curious again, why am I feeling this way? And it's not bad and wrong, it just is. What do I get to discover next? So I really like this poem. I think it really speaks to what we're talking about, by Rumi.
Yeah, it's called The Guest House, and Rumi spent an entire lifetime being curious about emotions and spirituality and all this being human and embracing it and accepting it, which is why I really love this poem, and I have it hung up in my room. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whatever comes because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. And what I love about that is it's showing you that these are friends of yours, guides for you. And the first time I remember reading this poem, welcome and entertain them all, even now it makes me kind of giggle a little bit. It's like, yeah, come on, sorrow, come on, fear, come on in. But then the juxtaposition of who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture is kind of going back to that metaphor of moving the couch. Because when I move all this out, then there leaves so much room for those emotions we do want, like joy and love and, wait, happiness? We want to be happy? So I really love that poem. And it's just a really nice one to remind us that all these emotions are acceptable, or are there for a reason, and to accept them and like they said, let it go through you and flow on out.
Yeah, and I truly believe they are gifts, and I think it said something to that effect at the end. Yeah, they're
gifts as guides from the beyond.
Yeah, and I really believe they are gifts. You know, I've talked about this before. Resentment is a gift. You know, people often want to suppress it and make it go away. And I remember feeling bad and wrong for having resentment. It was something I just needed to shift, right? I just needed to get rid of it.
If you could just do that.
Yeah, and just pray it away, write it away, whatever I needed to do to make it go away. But I realized today, you know, just like so many other emotions, no, resentment is just a gift. It's telling you where you're out of alignment. It's telling you where you're dishonoring yourself or you're betraying yourself, you're letting yourself down. And it guides you to exactly what that thing is, often that needs to be let go of, or boundaries need to be set. You need to speak your truth. And those feelings are actually, they're your best friend, because if you allow continuous misalignment and dishonor, it'll show up in physical illness. It'll show up in, like, you're obviously
stuffing those down does nothing but add more.
It does. Yeah. It's just going to manifest in other ways that you don't want.
Physical, mental.
Yeah. I often have used the example that, you know, if I am, let's say, a little bit overweight, you know, it's this little tap on the shoulder from the universe. Hey, love yourself a little better. You know, you're feeling a little tired. You're feeling a little out of alignment. You know, it's just that little tap. Love yourself better. And then if I don't listen, then I may get another symptom. I may get diabetes. And that's another little tap. Hey, love yourself a little better. And then if I don't listen to that, maybe I lose a toe. Or maybe I get heart disease. Or maybe, you know, there's all these other symptoms. And today I don't see those as things that are like, oh, they're terrible things. No, those are gifts because they are pointing you back to loving yourself better.
Exactly.
Nothing is like, these symptoms are not bad and wrong. If we're talking about emotions, we're talking about physical symptoms. They're not like bad things that we must get rid of. It's listening to them and saying, what are you trying to tell me? Because it's actually telling you to love yourself deeper and better. Because the thing that the divine wants most is not for us to be comfortable, but for us to be as tapped in and alive and operating in our gifts as possible.
And growing and expanding and giving back to the world.
Yeah, every single thing in this universe is just like conspiring to get you into that alignment, into that space. So every time you have symptoms show up, or you have emotions show up, or you have conflict show up, like all of those things are constantly just conspiring to get you into your best self and operating in your potential. So they're all gifts. These emotions they're not things that we, you know, when I say let go of things in 2020, they're not emotions.
No.
Invite the emotions in. Let them be. Feel them. Experience them. The things that I'm talking about letting go of are exactly what your emotions will point to.
Maybe it's a bad relationship.
Yeah, it could be a bad relationship. And I say bad, not necessarily bad.
Just one that's the best relationship for you.
Right.
Not a good fit.
Yeah, and you might ask, like, well, how do I know? How do I know if it's a good fit? How do I know if a job is a good fit? How do I know if my home is a good fit? How do I know if this friend
values.
is a good fit?
What do you value? What is talking about alignment? Is it in alignment with what you value, what you treasure most in this world?
So I think that what's really important is getting really clear about what your boundaries are. And your boundaries are requirements to be in your space. So what do you require? And, you know, so if you communicate, let's say with a partner, if you communicate, this is what I have to have in my life, right? This is what I require to be in a relationship, and they don't honor that, that's a really good sign you're in a relationship that's not honoring. Same thing with a work relationship. Are they offering you an equal energy exchange? Do you feel taken advantage of? Are you being paid less than your worth? Are you bending over backwards for them? But
are you being valued as a person even?
Are you being demeaned? And this goes for any relationship. This could be a partner, friend, coworker,
family.
boss.
We talked about family.
Yeah.
It's okay to love them from a distance.
Yeah, but at no point is it ever okay to be demeaned or dishonored.
Ever.
Or to, you know, have condescending comments.
And you get to dictate that.
You do. The hard part about boundaries is that the more you have, the more that you value yourself and the higher standards that you have, the smaller your circle will be. Because the more people you will let go of. It just is the way that it is. You know, you will end up with a smaller circle of people. However, the people that are there,
you'll be happy beyond belief.
Yeah, you will find you have the best inner circle of people. And this is how you create space. When you set boundaries, which means you have higher standards and you have non-negotiable requirements to be in your space, you get to kick a lot of people out of your space and you get to protect your space. However, you then have created the space that you needed for all of the relationships that you dreamed about having. And like even work, like you let go of that job you're terrified to let go of that doesn't honor you and doesn't pay you well. Guess what? Yep, you just created a whole big blank space, but you've created the space that you need to invite in the job that you wanted. Because you
Think
don't
of it
have
as a canvas that you can paint and create exactly the job that you've been thinking of or dreaming of. And it doesn't mean it has to be a job that's not a 9 to 5, because some people need the structure of that. It means really writing out what it is that you want and not negotiating on the job, because a lot of times we do, like our jobs and our relationships, we negotiate because we get into the fear mode, and then it's like, but what if what if and going back to, what if you fly, what if you do get that job, what if you do get the job that you've wanted all your life because you were willing to not settle and not compromise.
Yeah, beautiful words. I remember when you told me that over a year ago now, and you said, and what if you fly?
And look at you, flying.
And that's the thing, is we're so scared of what's going to happen. And very often, we don't know what's going to happen, and we hardly can put two thoughts together about what we want to happen. But as we go, we figure out how we're gonna make it work, and
you don't have to know all the steps ahead of time either.
You don't. It all just shows up. It really does all just show up. But it's you doing your part in the beginning is making the space and being in alignment no matter what. It really is this uncompromising, like, no matter what, I will honor me, even if it means I go homeless, even if it means at the very worst things were to happen, it's still worth it to honor me. And when you get to that level of honor, it's funny because those things don't happen, we end up flying.
I was reminded of I'm thinking of Nelson Mandela and all the years that he was jailed. He could be bitter, he could be angry, and he probably did feel all of those things.
Yeah.
But what he came out of that with is really truly knowing who he was and knowing what he wanted to do with his life. And he had that time and space to think. And now it doesn't need to be that extreme, but I'm just thinking how that time probably gave him the space that he needed to really decide how he wanted to live his life, who he wanted in his circle, how he wanted that to progress. And he may not have known all the steps, but he did know what he wanted and didn't want, what he uncompromising, unapologetic, and always honoring.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that he did well all of his life, is honored everyone.
Yeah.
And that's how you can go through and do your mission and what you came here to do and how to serve, is being honoring of everyone, including yourself.
Absolutely.
And I think sometimes we forget to honor what we want and what we believe and what's important to us.
Oh, it happens all the time.
All the time.
Yeah, we often will betray ourselves, and that's really what my whole mission is now, is stop betraying yourself. Like, it's okay, you have complete permission to honor yourself, because what's so cool is that when you honor yourself, you honor everyone. We think that we're loving other people by putting up and tolerating and all the stuff we do and really letting ourselves down, but that is not honoring to them or us.
No.
It never will be. So yeah, don't be afraid to put yourself out there and honor yourself. Yeah, that can be really tough. It is. It's probably the most courageous thing any of us will ever do. There's so much conditioning that tells us that it's not okay to do that.
A lot to let go of.
Yeah.
A lot of conditioning to let go of. Oh,
Yeah.
we're talking about letting go. Yes.
Yeah.
Conditioning is a big thing to let go of.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's one of those things that you don't even know. It's getting curious. Where did this belief come from? Is this something that my heart has really dictated, or is this something I've picked up as I've grown up and something that my culture tells me? And boy, that selfishness one is a big one. Yeah.
Or it may have been true for the past, but not really true for the current. Mm-hmm. So sometimes we hold on to old traditions and old beliefs because it was something that was needed in the past. So just take a look at it and see, is it applicable today? Is it something that's serving me? If it is, keep it. If it's not,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, letting go, identifying what to let go of, it is something that you really get to lean into those emotions, because it's not something that Marie or I could tell you.
Yes.
This is okay.
This is the one
look
place.
Look at a list of what you have in your life, and we're just going to tell you what to cross off. And it doesn't work that way. Like, your resentments will tell you that that's a big one. Your feelings of fear, like if something or someone is threatening you, or if you feel taken advantage of, or you feel like there's some inequality happening, or you feel suppressed, like these are all of the feelings that you get to listen to that are your biggest guide. They are your divine compass that you were born with. And so if it's funny, it's the very things that people were telling me they're going to let go of. No.
Keep it.
Don't let go of them. Please don't let go of them. Like, listen to them, because they are your biggest guides, and they'll tell you what to let go of. Mm-hmm. They'll tell you who, what things you need to let go of, what's standing in the way, what your barriers are. Mm-hmm. Again, the goal is not comfort. The goal is alignment.
Unless you're okay with the average.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to tolerate as much as we're willing to tolerate, every single one of us, you know? So yeah, there are plenty of people who are going to say, I don't want to let go of anything, and I would rather hold on to what's safe. And that's the thing, is it feels safe. And I'm not saying that there's judgment for that either, because I've gone years holding on to things.
And it was okay.
At
that time.
And I still learned things from them. I wasn't my happiest during them. I was learning a lot of tough lessons, and we get to decide when that lesson's over. Mm-hmm. We get to decide when we've had enough pain and we're going to do something different. And I forget who says that, but it's, when the pain is.
Yeah. There is a poem, a piece of a poem by Anais Nin that says, when the bud blossoms, when it's finally too tight.
Oh,
you know which one I'm talking about?
I do know what you're talking about.
It blossoms when
it's too comfortable or too uncomfortable to stay bound up in that bud, something like that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Yep. So when you're ready to bloom, you'll.
I wanted to also say, for those of you that we had talked about journaling before, one of the questions you can ask is, why? Why are you keeping this relationship? Yeah. Why are you keeping this job? Is it okay? I mean, the why is really important as to why you're doing it. And there we go.
That's been a great question for me too. If I examine the motive of what's going on when I'm making decisions, I like to ask myself if it's coming from fear or inspiration, if I feel inspired to do something. And what I mean by inspired is not like, I feel inspired to do this so that so-and-so doesn't lose their house. Like, I've heard that one a lot.
That's awesome.
I'm like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, I feel inspired because this feels fun, because this lights me up, because my heart is full when I do this, because I feel like I have so much energy when I do this. Like, that's inspiration.
That's inspiration.
It's not, when you say, I'm doing this because I'm afraid that someone else might blah, 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 or I'm afraid that I might, I need those benefits because I might get sick. Like, recognize where your fears are in the driver's seat and they are making decisions for you about your life. And then decide, do you want to be driven by those fears, or do you want to be driven by your inspiration? And yeah, it's risky. And this is why I say, like, it's not getting rid of that fear, because that fear is going to be there. And the more you live life on the edge, the more you do that, the more fear you're going to have. And I've learned it's not getting rid of the fear. It's giving fear the finger.
I like that.
Yeah, I hear you. I see you. And this is what we're doing. So hang on for the ride.
But the more fear that you conquer, the joy is as exponential as well. Mm-hmm. So the more exponential the fear is, oftentimes I've found that the joy is exponential as well.
Yeah, it is. It so is.
So I found the quote. And the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom.
Yeah. Yeah, again, it's that whole pain. When it gets painful enough, we will change.
Sometimes it's a hammer.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I mean when I talk about letting go. What has become so painful that you're willing to let it go now? What has become so much of a weight around your ankles that you're going to let go of it? I also like the idea, let go of what's already let go of you. Sometimes we've outgrown things, and we want so desperately to go back to that time when it worked and it fit, and sometimes
it was comfortable.
Yeah, sometimes we grow apart from things, and to accept that was the natural flow of things, and accepting the reality that today maybe that doesn't fit, maybe it doesn't work, maybe it's not flowing. And then to release it with love and to say, I honor the time that I had, that it did fit, but I recognize today that this is not honoring. And it's time to let it go so that I can make space for something new and something that is honoring. And it's time to blossom. Yeah.
Yes.
Good stuff.
Very good stuff.
Yeah. All of this we get to take into the new year and create on that new blank
And what
canvas.
will you create this year?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I can't wait to hear.
Yeah, I'm excited. Okay, well, we have come to the end of our time. So if you would like to email us, we'd love to hear from you. Any questions or comments or challenges or any topics that you would like to hear us share about in this new year, we'd love to hear from you. My email is defytheaverage@gmail.com. And then you can reach Marie
at mariesgold.com. We'd love to hear from you.
And of course, you can comment on any of our platforms, and we'll respond to that as well. We are here every week, every Thursday, and we love having these conversations with you guys. And I hope that you all have a fabulous start to your 2020.
Yes.
Let us know what you've decided to let go of.
We'd love to.
Step into
Yeah.
love
Maybe we can let them know what
like
we've
you've
let
never
go
been
of.
hurt
Next week
before.
we'll talk about that.
Okay, that sounds good.
Step
All
into
right, well, we love you
trust
guys, and
like
talk
you've
to you
never
soon.
been
Bye-bye.
before.
Bye.
Would you just open